All right, we are now moving on to the theories of motivation. So if you think about it, we're now preparing for a CLEP exam, studying for this exam, maybe other exams, and you might wonder what's driving you, what motivates you to prepare for this exam, what motivates us to prepare or be driven towards anything in our lives, relationships, happiness, love, food, anything that we're actually driven towards has a motivation behind it. So here in psychology, we try to understand what makes us behave in these ways, what actually drives us. So motivation, we can summarize this as studying motivation, which is a description of the wants or the needs that direct behavior towards a particular goal. So it's a broad definition, and we're going to go into some specifics that describe some of what drives us or motivates us. The first theory that we come upon is the drive theory. The drive theory states that basically we have an assumption that we're all operating under homeostasis, a certain state of balance, as you would. And when our system becomes imbalanced in any particular way, that is what's going to create the physiological need to regain balance. So anytime I deviate from that state of homeostasis, I'm going to be driven to resolve that by achieving whatever it is that I'm lacking in that particular area. So for example, let's just say I am without food. I'm very hungry. This will cause a drop in my blood sugar level. Blood sugar drops, and in that way, it leads me to become more hungry. And that'll drive me to find food, or if I'm thirsty, to get some beverage into me, and that will resolve that imbalance in that homeostasis. This is true for sleep also. If I'm tired, I'm going to seek out sleep. If I am cold, I'm going to seek out something to make me warm. If I'm too hot, again, I might seek to resolve the balance by removing certain articles of clothing so that I can achieve that state. And the drive that we have is habitual in many ways. We're likely to engage in whatever behavior that has worked before. So I don't always have to think about going for food when I'm hungry. I'm almost preconditioned because it's what's worked in the past, and I'm into the habit of doing so. Let's move on to a second theory for motivation. This is the Yerkes-Dodson law. The Yerkes-Dodson law talks about how we can achieve an optimal level of arousal based on what kind of performance and quality I need to achieve. So before we even get to this level, let's just first understand that if I'm going to be studying for an exam, there is a sweet spot that I have to be optimally focused in that work. And if I'm very lethargic or very tired, that's not going to be good for me. And if I'm overly excited and have too much energy in me, that's also not going to be beneficial to my studying. We have to try to find that optimal level of arousal. Now, Yerkes-Dodson went a step further and explained that there is a variable of complexity. How complex a task is relates to what kind of a level of arousal is optimal for my performance. So if I have a very complex task, let's say extremely difficult calculus, or if I'm building something that takes a lot of work, Yerkes and Dodson found that I actually need a lower level of arousal. I have to be patient and not overly excited. And in that way, I will have an optimal level for difficult tasks, as we can see here in blue. Now, for easy tasks, I need to actually have a higher level of arousal so that I don't get bored. So if I'm doing something simple like painting a wall, it's not too complicated to paint a wall, but I need to then have a higher level of arousal and me being more aware and awake of what's happening. So that is the Yerkes-Dodson law. Finally, we move on to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We've already referenced Maslow's hierarchy in a previous chapter, but we revisit it again here in terms of motivation and drive. Maslow, as you may recall, states that we have a certain amount of needs that rise up from basic physiological needs, and they climb on up until we get to the more complicated types of needs. And that this is an ongoing life process where first I have to get food, water, and shelter. And you can think of a child, an infant, that's all they care about is just being warm and fed. And as the child gets older, they need to have some security, some safety. As they get older, they may even need to be employed. Later on, you may have social needs that have to be met. You have to have friends, you want to have close family, you may start to date and become intimate and eventually get married. From there on, we move on to esteem. What's my self-worth? What's my value? Do I feel a sense of accomplishment and confidence in my life? And finally, we have the pinnacle of the process of the triangle, being self-actualized and reaching this state of inner fulfillment. So these are the stages of Maslow's hierarchy, and that about covers several of the theories that we're going to focus on for the purpose of your CLEP exam. Good luck remembering these, and we'll see you at the next module.